What's up, everybody? Good afternoon. It's iCkEdMeL. Thank you for stopping by. And wanted to talk a bit about the students that were murdered, check in with you guys, recap over some of the details and some of the bits of things that maybe you haven't seen, and maybe debunk some things too as well as we can. Supposedly still no suspects, no persons of interest, according to some of the clips we're going to watch. Let me start out with this clip here first. And if you guys could hit like too in the chat, I'd appreciate it. Subscribe if you're not, helps support the channel. This is the press release that was posted yesterday, and we don't need to go through everything, but so it has 488 digital media submissions from the community. The department has received 78 calls for unusual circumstances and 36 requests to check the welfare of loved ones. So I guess, like, obviously the community's like freaking concerned, freaked out, you know. An increase from 70 and 18. 36 requests to check the welfare of loved ones, an increase from 70 and 18. Okay, respectively for all of October. They had a candlelight, or they're having one November 30th. I'll put this link in the description later on. And then there's the tip hotline. What I thought was good about their updated investigation is that they finally updated the time for Kaylee and Madison getting home, which this is something that Kaylee's sister Olivia has been kind of fighting for a bit. Like, you know, instead of the 1:45 time that they originally, I think was it 1:45? Let me see. Do I have that map here somewhere? I had it downloaded previously. I thought it was 1:45. Oh, here it is. They were saying they all got home 1:45. And, you know, the sister was she was saying that's not accurate, that it's like 1:50 something. And so they, on the official website, updated here 1:56. So it says on the evening of November 12th, Kaylee and Madison were at a local bar, Corner Club in downtown Moscow between 10 p.m. and 1:30 a.m. On November 13th at approximately 1:40 a.m., Kaylee and Madison were seen on video at a local food vendor called the Grub Truck and used a private party for a ride home from downtown to arrive at their home at 1122 King Road around 1:56 a.m. So they updated that. And it says investigators have determined that Ethan and Xana were seen at Sigma Check House on University of Idaho campus at 735 Nez Perce Drive at approximately 1:45 a.m. Which, again, this is kind of, let me see, was that updated too? Did they fix that? They did fix that, because the before it was like there was like this time gap we kept talking about. From it was almost timed. You're like they were there from between 8 and 9, and people were wondering, well, what happened and what's going on. You know, huge time gap from there to getting out to the house. And so over here it says at approximately 1:45 a.m., Ethan and Xana are believed to have returned to the residence. They were seen. So I guess they're saying they were at the party the entire time. It was previously reported that Ethan resided at home. However, it has been determined that he was only visiting, which, you know, we know, people that have been following this. Detectives believe that on November 12th, the two surviving roommates had also been out in Moscow community separately, but returned home by 1 a.m. So I wonder if they had that. Did they have that here in the timeline too? No, they didn't even say that, but they're talking about now the surviving roommates. So they were home by 1 a.m. on November 13th. The two did not wake up until later that morning. On November 13th, the surviving roommates summoned friends to the residence because they believe one of the second floor victims had passed out and was not waking up. At 11:58 a.m., a 911 call requested aid for an unconscious person. The call was made from what? The call was made. Oh, okay. I'm about to say. I thought they switched everything up. From one of the surviving roommates' cell phones inside the residence. Multiple people talked with the 911 dispatcher before Moscow police arrived at the location. Officers entered the residence and found two victims on the second floor and two victims on the third floor. And so the rest is kind of we've covered all this already. But I just wanted to recap that. The other thing too, real quick, to touch on with this press release is I feel like we just have to reiterate this, but people still suspect these people on this list. At this time in the investigation, detectives do not believe the following are involved in this crime: the 2 surviving roommates, the male in the grub truck surveillance video, aka white hoodie guy, private party driver who took Kaylee Madison home on November 13th, the male Kaylee Madison called numerous times during the early morning hours of November 13th, which is Jack, and any individual at the residence when 911 was called. So, currently no suspects are in custody and no weapon has been located, which that's another thing that could fall under the debunk section, because people were tagging me and they were saying that there was this guy in Moscow that was arrested and they believe it maybe has something to do with this and that and related to this. And this was, I guess, a while back. So the police here, straight from the horse's mouth, there's no suspects in custody. No weapon has been located. On the night of the incident, officers located a dog at the residence. The dog was unharmed, turned over to animal services, and later released to a responsible party, which that party, I believe, is the ex or whatever, Jack, because we've seen him and they've been, I guess the media has been following Jack around and there's a video of him like walking the dog or something. Local businesses were contacted to determine if a fixed blade knife had been recently purchased. Detectives seized the contents of 3 dumpsters, all the stuff we've covered already. Governor Brad Little directed up to $1 million, in state emergency funds for the ongoing investigation. Damn. And then they have the rumor control section too, which I'll just briefly touch on. The identity of the 911 caller has not been released. There have been numerous media inquiries about the 1999 double stabbing in Pullman, Washington, and the 2021 double stabbing with 1 death in Salem, Oregon. While these cases share similarities with the King Street homicides, there does not appear to be any evidence to support the cases are related. Okay. They're also saying with the dog, detectives are aware of the Lauderdale County Sheriff's Office incident of the report of a skinned dog, but do not believe there is any evidence to support it is related to the incident. I mean, I don't know how they rule that out. Maybe there's a certain way that dog was skinned or something. I don't know. Weirdo shit. We also covered the 7 coyotes from, I think it was 2017 or 2015. And then the online reports of the victim being tied and gagged are not accurate. Now, I'm going to skip that for now. Let me do this clip. This was posted last night or yesterday.
May not have a suspect, but is there a person of interest in this case right now?
So again, we want to provide as much information as possible, and I think we've been very consistent, and we have said that we do not have a suspect and we do not have a person of interest at this time. We are building, again, as you mentioned before, building a profile, we're building a picture, we're trying to put all the pieces together, and when the time comes, we will most definitely put that information out.
Investigators remain tight-lipped as they're still on the hunt for a suspect. Today marks 2 weeks since 4 University of Idaho students were brutally stabbed to death inside their home. Former FBI investigator Bill Daly joins us now. Good morning, Bill. First off the top, there's been a lot of pressure put on this idea of targeted, what that means and how they might know it. Why do you think it is that they believe someone was targeted and why they're not telling us how they know that?
Well, first of all, you have to realize there is the killer loose out there. Yeah. So the more information they provide, which by the way, I think they've handled it very well to this point, is that when they need the public's help.
Marie said Jeremy is standout to me. Are you talking about the, oh no, I don't know why. Yeah, I'm thinking of is that the neighbor? There's an interview we're going to watch later too. He did another interview at Fox, but this was like a couple of days ago or something. We'll take a look at that.
You know, they'll reach out, but in the meantime, don't need to either get people's concerns further out there in the community or signal something to a killer. But I think, some of the things surrounding, this horrendous incident, the fact that there were 2 people who were sleeping downstairs who were unharmed. And it does seem to be something that someone would have either had to know the inside of the home, know their routine. There are some things around this that don't ring true, at least in my mind, as to be some kind of random kind of break-in the middle of the night.
And there's some people too that were believing this was random. I still have a hard time believing that. I mean, I don't know if it was inner circle. It could have been maybe somebody in passing, but definitely targeted. I mean, it's been said multiple times. And also the layout of the house, which I'm going to attempt to take you through the virtual tour later. It's kind of a kind of a pain, but the person did a really good job doing this 3D model. And so, I mean, there's no way I could see this person, unless very intentional, going through the first floor. I would think either like the sliding doors more probable, or I mean, it's possible they just skipped past everybody and just went in through the front and up the stairs, but thinking more like the sliding door. And then there's the thing of like that not everybody was murdered in their bed. It's believed, I think, and we'll get to that later too, the coroner said that like they were all, I believe, likely sleeping or attacked in their sleep, but maybe not all murdered in their bed, which makes me think like maybe Ethan got out, or somebody got up or something, and their final place of death wasn't the bed, you know?
Right, and just happened upon these individuals. If it was someone on a rampage who was a mass murder rampage, you would have thought they would have also gone downstairs and harmed the other people. So there are a couple of things that start to suggest that there was something in these people's orbit, or one of the victims' orbit, that caused this incident to come about by this murderer.
You know, I think a lot of us sit here and it feels like we're looking at this going, man, they don't have much here. They're not naming a suspect. They're not sending us in a direction of having faith in this getting solved soon. One thing I want to point out is they did come out and say, listen, these murders that happened in other states, one of them specifically in Oregon that was a stabbing, we don't believe there's a connection there. Is the simple fact that they can rule that out, is that evidence that maybe they do have more than what we know?
Well, I think it's perhaps comforting, to know that they've ruled it out, that there isn't someone kind of loose in the Northwest area who's committing these crimes. And I do think that there's some things here that by not hearing certain things from the police, I think they have a lot more than we were aware of. We know that they've actually had literally hundreds of interviews conducted and simply hundreds of pieces of forensic evidence collected. It is, Joey, kind of like an onion here. They're kind of peeling it back. It's not one of these crimes that initially kind of reveals itself. In many cases, within a few days, you find out it was someone closely associated with the victims who may be responsible, a family member or something else. In this case, it's kind of looking further out. And as I say, talk about those orbits, it's someone further out perhaps in their orbit who might be responsible for this. And also, we talk about forensic evidence, and a lot of people have asked, well, by this point, wouldn't they have back fingerprints? They would have back DNA. My point is that, fingerprints or DNA only good as something you have to compare it to. So, for instance, you, Joey, and myself, our fingerprints are our file. If we commit something, they'll know who we are. But if you've never been fingerprinted or you don't have your DNA in a database, it's great after the fact when you find a suspect to perhaps put the suspect at the scene.
Yeah, and given that it was like a party house and people going in and out, and also given that, the day that 911 was called, all these people potentially maybe came in and out of the house, or, I don't know, roommates, people that arrived there. But the other thing, too, is maybe they can find something with the DNA genealogy, like familial genealogy, be able to track somebody's family down, possibly. There's a video too somewhere that I'm going to play that talks about that I thought was pretty interesting.
But not necessarily something that is an aha moment.
Well, thank you so much for your expertise. There are so many more questions than...
There's another clip to this from TMZ with regards to...
That we have put out the request for the information and for video surveillance, and we have an FBI link. And what I can say is that we've been very successful, and that community members are providing what they do have, and it's been helpful. What we do like to say is that a lot of times, we're asking for this crazy behavior that people think is important to us, but also really what I think people need to recognize is that oftentimes what's not in the video might help us just as much as what is. We're really taking that whole picture view, and we're really trying to put the pieces together so we can see what occurred. That also includes what occurred in the weeks leading up to the event, as well what happened during the night of at the bar, the Sigma Chi house, the street vendor, and then as well, of course, at the location and the residence itself.
That's what I was kind of wondering too. Did anything happen at the Sigma Chi house
where the murders
where the party was at
occurred? As far as the timeline goes, I mean, that is part of what we're investigating and trying to determine. As far as the reconstruction goes, as you know, we've been inside the location gathering evidence. the state crime lab, has been processing the evidence, and then as well, our detectives have been piecing together based on the returns that they're getting, as well as the interviews, which we've done over 150 interviews.
I always wondered too, like, because I remember like there was, I don't know if you guys remember the live stream we were doing with like the local reporter was a bit upset that like the national news was getting more information or getting information first before the local reporters. And so I kind of wondered too, when you see things like this, you know, with TMZ or someone like the exclusive interviews, are they paying, or is there any kind of kickback, or is it just, you know, let me just jump on a platform that's really big to get this out, to just, you know, to get the information out faster? I mean, I don't know. I mean, it might get out just as fast, but, you know, I was kind of wondering about that because when that whole thing with the reporter thing happened, they had tagged the video that News Nation had did or something like that, and they were kind of frustrated.
And so, you know, as we talk about reconstructing the scene, I think that goes in line with one of the prior questions about the video. And so they're really trying to get that entire picture of what occurred, again, even before the night, the night of, and then especially the incident. And so I think that as more evidence is coming forward and more information is being found, that they're getting a better picture of what occurred.
That's that. I wanted to show this too. This was interesting. I was watching this morning. I know some people had seen this already, but this is Kaylee's father talking about this situation. And we also got to get to an interesting post where Kaylee's sister kind of does like a Q&A type of thing. So this was on Reddit, but the original post came from this Facebook group called University of Idaho Murders Case Discussion. So we're going to get into this too because it was pretty interesting, I thought.
Cut short by a still unnamed criminal. It's been about 2 weeks since the University of Idaho students were stabbed to death in their beds while they slept in that home right behind me. This gruesome attack has shattered peace of mind here in Moscow. In a town that never used to lock their doors, locksmiths are now being flooded with calls. College students are now considering online classes. And while rumors are swirling here, everyone is in agreement on one thing: justice must be served. We have walked this crime scene, followed the timeline of this case, and asked investigators to answer some of the many unanswered questions about this brutal crime. You'll hear from those experts later this hour. But to begin, joining me again tonight, Steve Goncalves, father of Kaylee.
And if you guys could help me out with the likes, please, I'd appreciate that. Helps out the stream, algorithm, all that good stuff.
Goncalves, sir, thank you so much for joining me tonight. We continue to grieve with you and your family, and we're hoping to get answers for you. Sir, when was the last time you talked with law enforcement about the case?
Well, we just had a vacation. Law enforcement told me that they were going to drop off a little bit and not to expect the same type of communication that I had gotten before. They passed it on to another person. So basically, long story short, it was Wednesday, 5 p.m. was the last time that they reached out to me. So, yeah, that's rough.
Sir, what are they telling you?
They're kind of just telling me that they can't tell me much, which is frustrating to me because I've been very trustworthy. I do know things. I haven't shared things. We're the same family that found the original timeline. We're the same family that broke into the phones.
So he's talking about, if you watch the beginning of the stream, that I believe the camera stuff, the timeline corrections, the one that this Olivia's been trying to say, I think it was 156. Also the food truck video. And so it seems like there's some frustration. It's got to be tough because I can understand too, probably from law enforcement perspective, that you have to, even though it's family, you still have to keep things probably, I mean, who's to say somebody's not going to say something to somebody and it gets leaked out or something like that, you know? It's like probably a very thin line to walk, you know?
We tried everything in our ability to try to get into this system because a court order is not the fastest thing. So we broke in and we did what we did. We know that we have some family passwords that we all share. So we broke in and we helped them. So it's hard for me.
So they had access to her accounts and stuff like that too. And by the way, somebody was asking about, like, I think Kaylee, whether she worked, and about the car stuff. So the Q&A thing that the sister we're going to get to, she talks about all that stuff.
Broke in and we did what we did. We know that we have some family passwords that we all share. So we broke in and we helped them. So
shit, I don't have any family passwords. None of my family. It might not be, you know what somebody told me? I forgot. I think somebody had told me that I should have like a password thing or something somewhere, some sort of family. If something happens, isn't that one of the true crime rules, or true crime junkies, or one of those rules that they have, that you should have like a thing with a notepad or something with some sort of access to your passwords and stuff like that for your phone, your GPS stuff, emails, whatever, bank accounts, in case some ish goes down. Instead of playing, footsie, waiting for these people to get the whatever, forget, can't even think of the word right now, subpoenas or whatever, you already have all the passwords, and you can help out police, and you can, expedite the whole process,
So it's hard for me to give up as a father my protective ability to other men.
Mm.
Sir, they have shared with us that it was a targeted attack. Can you give us any information about that? Have they told you who the target was, or given you more insight than they have the public?
I don't want to talk bad about them, because these are some hardworking individuals, and I'm doomed without them. We're all doomed without them. This defund police is just a terrible idea.
And I was kind of, when I heard that this morning, I was like, oh shit, he brought up defund the police. And there's another clip. Hopefully I know I have it somewhere, where they were talking about the police force out there, and that, there's really like barely crime. So I don't know. It seemed like they really didn't have the numbers to take on this case. So I think it's a CNN clip, but hopefully I'm pretty sure I'll be able to find it. But it kind of goes to maybe what he's saying here.
The fact that we're finding out that there's more than just my daughter and these children that have suffered, it's terrible to think that we can defund these guys. It's an absolute atrocity. That's not something that is it's political. It's not political. This is just facts, guys. We can't allow these people to just run free.
That's true. Yeah, been saying it all this time.
So beyond that, they haven't shared a lot. We have some private detectives that have reached out to us and given us information. We take that with a grain of salt, and we try to be careful. Just today, I reached out to the officers and said, hey, this guy's treated me with respect on the show. I'd like to share some things with him that I found out on my own, and they asked me to not do that.
So I guess he's saying he's communicating with police.
Today, I reached out to the officers and said, hey, this guy's treated me with respect on the show. I'd like to share some things with him that I found out on my own, and they asked me to not do that. So we're holding our tongue. We're waiting patiently, but we're definitely concerned.
Yeah. So, sir, I had the opportunity to speak with those.
So it seems like there is stuff maybe that they do know, at least, that there's not maybe privy to the public.
Same law enforcement officials today, and was able to get some information out from them as well. We want to do everything that we can do to get you answers and to solicit more information for the timeline. But there's gaps in that timeline. Is there anything that you can share with us that may put people in that direction where they would feel willing to share about that timeline?
I've heard a little bit of feedback on this, that people are nervous about the timeline. I'm going to tell you guys that there's so much attention on this. If you can share your information, if you can post it, I mean, it's the internet. You can do these things anonymously. Go forward. You don't have, and for those people who are afraid, like maybe I was intoxicated or I'm underage, that's not what they care about, guys. They're not looking at that. That is not going to happen. So give your information, give out that picture, that image, that video, that selfie, whatever it is, give it out and know that there's zero chance that they're coming to you for, ruining your career or your anything along those lines. They're just looking for data right now. And you could be the key. You might be something that has been overlooked. So I just implore people to come forward, especially when you're even close to that timeline, because technology is the only thing that doesn't lie, really. It's just data. And then we can analyze it as a society and determine what it is, but it doesn't lie. It's just simply data. So it's better than an eyewitness. It's better than anything that we can produce. It's right up there with DNA. And I just implore you, sometimes even if you think that selfie has nothing in the background, maybe there's a car that should be there, that somebody said in their alibi, I parked right here next to this tree. And then there's that tree and your car's not there.
Steve, we're going to put that number on the screen for people to call.
Thank you.
Give any information. Sir, thank you so much for coming on the program. Keep us posted on what's going on in this investigation. We'll continue to follow it. Thanks again.
Okay. Move on to the next thing. So the sisters post. And by the way, thank you to the person that sent the super chat, but we're not going to be dropping names in here for people's, I don't know, full names and addresses that we don't know have any kind of relation to this situation. All right, so let me do this. I thought this was interesting too. Statements from KG's sister. I think I can zoom in, yeah. Oh wait, starts from 5. Let's start from 1. Oh no, I closed it up. Oh, here it is. There we go. Okay. All right. Okay, so this is from the Facebook group, University of Idaho Murders Case Discussion. Kaylee's sister, Olivia, responds to some common questions. Number 1, we never made a deal about Kaylee's Range Rover. Everyone else did. Kaylee was an extremely hard worker and worked hard for everything she had. She had a super good paid internship, and the company had offered her FTE starting January 1st, which I think means full-time employment, January 1st. It's important to her and to us that she's remembered this way. So there was a whole bunch of people, wondering about like, how can she afford it, the car, and blah, 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 and she's a hard worker. She's earning money, and, she had a full-time thing coming up. And, sure, she probably had to make she's probably making monthly payments or something. Okay, so number 2, she was home because she worked from home and could be. We're a big family. We take a lot of comfort in being around one another. She was also helping my mom decorate for Christmas and plan Thanksgiving in preparation for my return trip home for Thanksgiving holiday. Assuming my mom was trying to convince Kaylee to stay is just that, assumption. But the roads were also icy, and we always worry about Kaylee making that drive by herself. Okay? Now, this part here, let me reactivate the chat. I kind of hit it because I didn't want that person's thing to do that. Hopefully it's working now. Now, this part here where it says, we never said this was targeted on Kaylee. This is the one portion that I wasn't so sure about. I feel like they had mentioned that maybe there was like a rumor, I guess. But I'm pretty sure there was a part where they were asked here and somebody alluded to, I'm going to play this interview here. I forgot how far in.
So I don't know how much
Even in the shorter video that I did, I actually showed this.
Individuals that I'm talking with, which are the local, are actually exercising their different jurisdictions. I think they might not know a lot because, they have briefings, and if they haven't had a briefing, they probably don't know exactly what's going on.
Are they contacting you at all? Are they keeping you updated more than they are, say, on the website or with these press briefings?
To be honest, they're not. I mean, yesterday I asked about the stalker question and they couldn't confirm anything. And then today I hear that they're reaching out to the community saying that there's a stalker involved. So I don't know what to make of that.
It's
a
lot of
sorry, go ahead, Steve.
They're just so vague with everything that they say, and then they like slowly peel it back layer until you like find the real story. It all started with a sharp-edged weapon. What was the use in telling the community that a sharp-edged weapon was used instead of just coming out and telling us that it was a knife from the beginning? I don't understand the purposeness of being so vague. You're not holding the integrity of the case together by not telling anybody anything.
I understand you have frustrations for how police and investigators have handled the crime scene. What are those?
Share with me that may have more to do with keeping cameras out than it actually would be and have the right crime scene.
One of the mother of one of the surviving roommates.
This I covered on the clip. The surviving roommate,
those roommates heard.
No, I would say for us that we did hear those rumors, but right now we can only leave it at that. None of that has ever been confirmed to us.
And they were downstairs, just to clear.
Where the murders took place. One consistent.
Here's the targeted part. So this is what I wanted to show because I feel like it was kind of alluded to that there was one target or maybe they were saying, I want to re-listen to it. Maybe they were saying there was just rumors. Natalie, thank you so much for the super chat. Says, Mel, did you see the interview room found a black glove outside of the home? He was walking by and saw the glove coming out of the leaves. He notified police pictures where it was taken and taken as evidence. I had heard about that because somebody sent screenshots on Discord of that. And so, I mean, I haven't watched the actual live stream, but you know, if he did, hey, that's good. I wonder where it was found. Was it found in the back of the house or like the front, or you know, where exactly was that located? And who knows? They'll have to process and check it out, I'm sure. Like I've done many situations, or I guess in some situations where I've gone out looking for stuff related to a story, and you'll find all kinds of things out there. But I mean, I wonder if did it have any blood on there too? I wonder if there was any kind of, because let's just say that it was the person's gloves. I would think that there'd be blood all over it, you know. So was there blood on there? Or was it not blood? That kind of stuff. Jazz, thank you so much for the 11-month membership. Says hit the like button and thank you. Yeah, if you guys could help out with the like, I'd appreciate that. Thank you. Oceans 1111 says back near trash cans.
And granted, there's been some, you know, changes as you know.
Somebody says front by the trash cans. Somebody says, the other one says near trash cans.
In how the police have described this, one consistent descriptor has been that the attack was targeted. Do you know if police believe one person in the house was the target of this attack, or all four?
I've been told it's one, but
see, like, so that's why I'm saying, like, when we go back here and it says we never said this attack was targeted on Kaylee. So maybe so he said he believes there's one, but then Kaylee does come up after. So let's listen to the exact wording. I'm just kind of curious.
Then again, there's the vagueness. Like it's like purposely vague.
In the house was the target of this attack, or all four?
I've been told it's one, but then again, there's the vagueness.
And if you notice, he's the brother saying like he's nodding his head no, but then he says one.
I've been told it's one, but then again, there's the vagueness. Like it's like yes. Purposely vague. Like, I'm hoping, but it confuses everyone.
Yeah.
Because nobody knows what that really means, other than maybe somebody had a different kind of attack footprint.
And he's talking about there how do they know the one person was targeted versus like the other people? And when he says attack footprint, meaning was like something else done more specifically to one person versus the others? Were they stabbed more? Was there something specific done to one specific person?
Yeah. So, you know, I feel like we just want some more. We all want to play a part in helping, and we can't play a part if we don't have any real substantial information to work from.
Yeah, I get it. You want to help. I mean, Olivia, you found video that has been helpful in this investigation. I'm sure you do want to help. Has anyone indicated to you that if it was indeed one person targeted, was Kaylee the target? Has anybody shared that with you?
They won't confirm who that was to us.
Okay, so she's right. As far as Kaylee, she's right. They didn't say Kaylee. They did allude to, or they did specifically say it seems like one person was targeted. But then I think the father, I thought, alluded. Let me see.
The police, that is.
Or at least rumors.
We've heard the rumors.
Okay, so they're saying there's rumors. Rumors if that's the case.
Just a rumor at this point.
Tons and tons of rumors, but nothing from the police.
And I'll say I think a lot of those rumors do stem from all of the vagueness, and it's human nature to want answers. It's human nature to kind of put forth a theory so that you can even comprehend it in your brain. And so I think that's how we're getting all of some of these really, really off the wall theories, and some of these theories like Kaylee had a stalker, that even we're sitting here scratching our heads saying, no, it could.
So like the stalker thing is ridiculous to them. And so she's right in this post then that she says they didn't say she was targeted on Kaylee, but they've heard the rumors. They've heard the rumors to that. But they did indicate in that interview that it seems to be one person, So, all right. So number 4, Kaylee once again had a lot of friends and family. I personally called in tips, anything and everything I could remember, big or small. Also, please be cognizant that these interviews are often cut and edited to display things. But if my dad did do that, it's because he just lost his daughter. It's not his job to always be strong right now. Sorry, it's not his job. It's not his job to always be strong right now. He knows he can rely on me to help if and when he needs it. Okay. And then the next part, because there's more, which I think is kind of interesting. Number 5, I do not know who killed her. I wish I did, and I can promise that I will find him and I will know. But I'm still getting there piece by piece. We have no bad ties. There is absolutely no illegal activities. The FBI is involved. You really think you wouldn't have heard of an arrest on one of us if there was anything? So I guess, there's people, how the internet does. They're going to look into families. They're going to look into everybody's, connections and blah, blah, blah. And so she's saying that they don't have any kind of bad ties or anything in their family. Number 7, I have stated multiple times that we talk for Kaylee and Maddie. I didn't personally know Xana and Ethan and would never claim to. Now with that, I have heard a lot of rumblings, a lot of comments about, Xana's mother, which I haven't looked into it myself. It might be worth looking into, but I haven't looked into myself. They were saying something about drugs and an arrest. I personally haven't verified it, so I'll need to, maybe later today, I'll sit down and try to verify that, because people are trying to say they think it's somehow connected. But I honestly think that, just like Kaylee had stated, sorry, not Kaylee, Olivia had stated, the FBI is involved in all this stuff. So, obviously, if there was some sort of tie, FBI, I'm sure would be looking at it or whatever. But I haven't looked into it yet, so I don't want to really talk about it since I haven't verified or checked it myself. Number 8, of course, we feel absolutely terrible. That was our sister, our daughter, our children's aunt. I've always protected her, but this time we couldn't. It's a miserable and helpless feeling that I think they meant to say, hope you don't ever experience. And finally, we do not owe you our places of employment or updated socials. Myself, brother, and father never have really used social media even before this. And I'm not surprised, because there's people on the internet that just think that they're owed this shit. Like, you have to, when people are falsely accusing me or falsely accusing random people, they feel like you owe them some shit, like your personal life, your job, all your social media stuff. Like you have to volunteer all your information. And some of these people demand it, like as if you have to do it, right? We are adamant on continuing to speak for Kaylee and Maddie because they no longer can, and an arrest has not been made. Our girls deserve more than to fade into the shadows and have their story replaced by a lost dog piece. And just realistically, the worst has already happened to us. I wouldn't jump 2 feet in the air to save my own life if threatened. I'd just go find my sisters when I got to whatever is left after we go. The shadows and have their story replaced by a lost dog piece. Are they referring to the dog that was found? The dog that everybody's talking about? So that was the sister's thoughts on that. Thought it was interesting. And we saw that.
And criminal defense attorney Mark Eigler. So, Mark, you hear the reports, you know what we know, and perhaps more, I'm not sure, with what investigators have told us so far. Based on what you do have in front of you, what can you glean? And is it possible?
Yeah, I don't understand that last part too much either. I was a little, I'm not sure, the lost dog piece and the jump 2 feet. No, a generic lost dog story. Oh, that's what she meant. Oh, okay. Maybe that's what she meant. A generic. Her sister and like family, the whole story being replaced. It was just, I thought it was kind of little. The skinned dog across town.
Possible that investigators know a whole lot more than they're letting on at this point?
Know more than we do, and if we know as much as they do, then there's a lot not to be grateful for on this Thanksgiving. They need to know more than we do. They need to keep this information close to their vest. As much as we thirst for knowledge, especially in a high-profile case like this, they would compromise their investigation if they revealed to us too many details. When they do catch the suspects involved and they sit them down and they want a confession out of them, they'll know that these people couldn't have gotten the information from anywhere other than being there firsthand.
Here, one of the things investigators have been willing to do is to give us a little information about what they know.
And they've had people in the past that have falsely admitted to a crime of like murder. And they can deduct from having a conversation with that person. Oh yeah, you did this murder? So, okay, tell me how you did it. Well, all right, what'd you do? Where'd you start first? What did you use? How many times? And they've debunked, believe it or not, I forgot what I've heard at least once or two or a couple of stories like that where people lie about a crime or a murder. I don't know if it's for notoriety or what. And police are able to deduct who's telling the truth and who's lying because they know information that hasn't been put out publicly. So a lot of people keep asking too about that. Why isn't this out? Why isn't that out? Why whatever? It's, it's for a reason.
Didn't happen. They know that the roommates that had been asleep downstairs had nothing to do with the crime, for instance, that sort of thing. Does that give us some insight into this crime? What investigators are willing to share as far as what did not occur there at the scene?
No, it just means two people who the public has speculated about, along with every other victim here, have now been exonerated. And that was important for police to do, and it doesn't compromise the investigation. But my biggest concern right now with the information we're getting is how reliable is it? When I first appeared on this network, the first day, and they announced it was an isolated, targeted attack and the community had nothing to worry about. There was no imminent threat to the public. We all said, okay, maybe that's true, and if it is, let's all relax. Kids can now walk on campus freely. Days later, they completely reversed themselves, saying, no, fear, you can go ahead and have that because we screwed up. So my question is, what is reliable from them at this point?
Well, Mark, to your point, because now the university there, they've made more, they've upgraded their security and patrols and et cetera around the campus area. And to your point, if you feel that investigators made those initial mistakes, which is possible in cases, as you well know, however, as you pointed out, they did make these mistakes in this case. Does that bring you to believe that perhaps they missed some clues and maybe didn't take the investigation initially in the direction that they may have right after they found out about this horrible situation?
No, it just means that somebody screwed up. It means that when we're trying to establish a relationship with those who are supposed to be keeping a very credible investigation going, they're initially telling us something that's not supported days later. So that starts a communication problem. Your word is your bond in life and in this case, and when you screw it up, we start to question things. The good news, however, let's talk about what to be grateful for. The FBI is partnering with local authorities. There then brings a wealth of resources that local authorities don't have. We also know that they are combing through video surveillance. Nowadays, you can't do anything without someone's ring capturing it. Right. So you go through all the video surveillance. If people don't want to provide it, you hit them with a subpoena and you get those items. And they're also combing through leads on who might have sold the type of weapon, the knife that they believe was used in this horrific attack. And maybe those leads pan out. Apparently there's over 700 leads, 90 people have been interviewed, and hopefully something yields fruit in this case.
Mark, what about the potential of the GPS and the vehicles, the student vehicles that are parked there still unseen in front of the house? You know, can they look into that without taking those vehicles away? Like, why are those vehicles still parked there?
If they haven't been able to take them away, likely it's because they can't at this point, and or they don't feel like it's of value. I don't know. I'm going to trust, as I generally do, law enforcement and the FBI, because there's so much pressure to find leads in this case. So let's at least still give them the benefit of the doubt in light of the initial rhetoric that turned out to be false.
Well, oftentimes local police departments just don't have the resources. And this came, I mean, no one expected something like this in this small, sleepy community for sure. So let's hope they get the answers for those families and for that community. Mark Eiglarsh, thank you very much for joining.
And before I get to that, I wanted to, this was a clip from a couple of days ago, but I thought it was interesting, some of the things they said. But I wanted to show this, that Fresh had put together. She kind of noticed this. Caution, it's not verified until it comes from law enforcement. It can be very confusing when you're looking at different news clips and you go off of one video that says one thing, but then you go look at another video and it says another thing. So let's take a look at this. It's 2 minutes long.
He apparently left no fingerprints behind, no blood.
Oh, Sifa. If you need help, thank you so much for the super chat. He's the originator of that 3D model, which is pretty dope. I had a little bit of a hard time. I realized, I think when I use the Brave browser, it's not so good, but it's better on the Chrome browser. If you need help with the 3D model, let me know. First person is the worst mode. Oh, for navigating. I'm also in your Discord if you have any questions. All right, I might have to DM you. The only part I really had trouble with was getting on the third floor, like personally walking to the third floor. I was able to do the first and second, but the third floor, I had a little bit of a hard time.
Blood on his part and no DNA. And there's some sophistication before and after the crime, even if the violent crime itself lacks some of that therein.
Jackie, that's worth repeating. The killer apparently left no fingerprints behind, no blood, no DNA, and he somehow killed 4 people, not with a gun, which can be done.
So they're saying here,
lacks some of that therein.
Jackie, that's worth repeating. The killer apparently left no fingerprints behind, no blood, no DNA.
No blood, no DNA.
He somehow killed 4 people, not with a gun, which can be done fairly quickly, but with a knife. I mean, this thing is so crazy, so disturbing. And the thing is, it feels like we're not even close to finding out who did this.
No, I don't think we are. And I actually was thinking that the DNA aspect of this would be fascinating. It would crack this case open and probably pretty quickly. But the fact that this person was experienced enough not to leave fingerprints, or at least, you know, we were talking about having skill in picking up the evidence, right? At least to our knowledge, and leaving no DNA behind. There is evidence that these victims were defensive in some way, that there were some defensive wounds, that they did fight back. And so I wondered to myself how it's possible that somebody didn't have some DNA fibers under their nails or however they did try to fight back, right? It seems almost impossible to me. And that's where the skill level comes in. And you say, you know, was this a team that knew exactly what it was doing? On top of it, my understanding is that morning before the authorities came, that was a crime scene. Other people were entering that crime scene. So it wasn't, you know, completely intact by the time that they got there. And these are a lot of questions.
I want to follow up.
So this is the interview too. I think we just saw
on that crime scene. What type of information, because the public when you request information from you're squaring that with some of the information that you guys have been able to collect from the scene. So you got DNA, and has all that DNA been processed through the FBI lab? Have y'all been able to grab all the technology and all that information from the servers, the Wi-Fi, all that stuff? Has that already been processed?
We are continuing to ask for the public's help, especially for video surveillance. We believe that in many cases, what's not on a video is actually just as important as what is on a video. As far as all the evidence that's been collected, most of that actually went to the Idaho State Police Crime Lab. And our scientists are working. It's a high priority for this case, and they've been working 24/7 to really turn around the evidence and provide that analytics basically back to us.
So we're still going to be getting some more information from that information that they've collected. That hasn't already all been, I mean, it's a big crime scene in there. They haven't processed all that information just yet.
That's correct.
So it's just kind of funny coming from, because the thing is, we don't know what's been processed, what's not, because it almost sounded definitively like they're saying there was no DNA evidence left in the first clip, and then in the second clip, they're saying it's still being processed. So I don't know, just be careful. You know what I'm saying? Things are changing all the time. And depending on what you watch, and even sometimes from the same source, it could be different. But things do update all the time. And so, I don't know. So this is part of the debunking section too, I guess. There was this whole red Mustang thing that I kept hearing about, but I never even looked into it. I never really gave it too much thought until this morning, because I was like, let me just trying to find out what's been going on with the story. Kind of took off the weekend. And it says, Idaho murders, internet baffled by mysterious red Mustang as investigation fails to make the headway. And so, one of the things that we used to do, especially during the Gabby stuff, if we find out something's either cleared or debunked or whatever, we'll just give it a mention and to let everybody know that it's been checked out or whatever. And so what happened was, let's see here. Okay. One of the users on Twitter shared a photo of the car with a Reddit screenshot that read, yesterday, November 25th, I took a screenshot from the Idaho Murder Facebook group of what appears to be a red Mustang convertible being searched by a forensics team. The original image and thread were removed from the Facebook group due to disagreements on whether the image showed a forensics team or a group of people fixing the car. When I read this morning, I kind of started laughing because I was looking at this image, which I'm like, is that forensics or is that people just cleaning the car? But I don't know. Anyway, it's been cleared though. But I mean, police have already looked into it. But I don't know what it looks like. I guess maybe that was forensics. So there was a huge debate on Facebook, I guess. Below is the bit of information I picked up from the post. Image was posted by someone in the area. Location of the vehicle is on South Deacon Street, less than a mile from the house. The bumper appears to be removed. From where the threat started is still unknown. And so it says here, but on the other hand, a New York-based investigative journalist for Fox News Digital, Michael Ruiz, tweeted saying, Idaho police acknowledge searching a red Mustang and say it has not brought them any closer to a suspect. It was not towed away. They are continuing to follow any and all possible leads. So maybe this was them looking into it or not, but whatever it is, it was checked out. And, police say that it's already been supposedly looked into. That's the post right there from Michael. Police acknowledged searching the red Mustang and say it has not brought them any closer to a suspect. It was not towed away. They're continuing to follow any and all leads. I want to see if I can get that. Okay, this is the clip too that I wanted to mention. I really just wanted to watch the end of this, but in the beginning portion, they mention about the police resources.
What they say, but now they've said nothing and that they know nothing. So how can you say it's targeted?
Then the local mayor went further, telling the New York Times it could have been, quote, a crime of passion, later clarifying that was just one possibility.
They don't want people to panic. And yet, unless you have the evidence that you are willing to share with the public and be transparent about how the investigation is going, these words are completely giving false confidence.
But police say they can't share their entire case for fear of compromising the investigation.
You can't just put that out into the public's eye. It would impede the investigation, and ultimately it might impede justice at the very end of this.
But with no suspect identified, many students packed up and left town.
There's no perp caught or anything, so it's It's definitely uneasy on campus right now.
By day 4, police recognized their assurances of public safety weren't resonating as residents fixated on the fact a killer was not caught. Police Chief James Fry went before the cameras.
We cannot say that there's no threat to the community.
Still calling the crime targeted, but pulling back on assurances there was no public threat and pledging to release more.
I probably should have been standing here a day or so ago, but I'm here now.
Between 2016 and
Here we go. This is what they are. Between 2016
21, there were no murders in Moscow. So when the quadruple homicide stunned this town, the 36-person police force was pressed into unprecedented action. With no full-time communication staff,
The messaging was a little bit off.
Idaho State Police were brought in to assist with public messaging
and really put out, hopefully, the best information we can.
But the rumor mill has been hard to control. A report of a man loitering at a food truck near 2 of the victims was knocked down.
I just want to show that part, and then I want to skip to when this guy talks. The ex-FBI, all the ex-FBI or former FBI agents now are, talking about their thoughts on the story.
Now from former Deputy FBI Director Andrew McCabe.
But just to show you, I don't know, these people barely, I guess, they don't have much crime over there. They didn't have murders between those years. And so out of nowhere, it's just like, boom, 4 homicides,
Who is now a CNN senior law enforcement analyst. Andy, we just mentioned we are expecting officials to release more updates at a news conference tomorrow, but it's now been more than a week since the murders, and we really don't have any answers. So what do you make of the lack of details?
Well, John, there's a couple of things that I think are really troubling here. One, of course, is the lack of detail. Now, you would never expect any police agency to share all of the details of a crime of this nature with the public, but you would expect them to tell you some of the basics about how they're doing and what they're thinking, simply to calm fears, to let folks know that they're on the job and they're getting things done. Not only have they not done that, they've actually made statements that are contradictory and caused more confusion than they've helped. So they are definitely behind the power curve here in terms of managing this crisis response with their press outreach. And we're just...
The one thing that I'll have to say is that at least they're kind of trying to debunk the things that they can debunk, at least, and get ahead of it. Because I feel like, and I almost wonder if that could have pros and cons to it too, doing that, but at least for the people that are innocent versus the Kali Ronnie stuff, where these people just shut up and disappeared. Law enforcement, I feel like they just hightailed it and left everybody in the wind. I feel like as far as that stuff during that process. But the other thing too, this guy, I think it's this guy that mentions it. He's going to talk about that, but they ruled out these people super fast too. Maybe there's a reason. I'm sure they were able to verify certain things, but
hoping that that's not indicative of a lack of organization or focus or capability in getting this investigation done.
Because in your mind, there is still very real current public safety concerns there?
No question. You have a quadruple homicide. You do not have, by their own admission, they do not have a suspect identified. They don't, presumably, not that we know of anyway, they don't have a communication or any sort of claim of motive or purpose behind that. They don't have a murder weapon recovered yet. So without any of those facts in place, I don't see how they can possibly state with any confidence that there is not a threat to the community. Clearly there is. That threat still out there.
One of the things police have said is they have ruled multiple people out. How useful is that in an investigation to rule people out?
Eventually, John, you want to rule people out, but I was struck with how quickly they ruled out a fairly large group of folks who seem to have played key roles in the discovery of this crime. So you have the 2 roommates who were on the premises when the murders were taking place. You have some number of either a friend or some friends who came over to see those roommates the next morning before the 911 call was made. You have the individual who drove the 2 females from the food trucks back to their house right before the homicides took place. And all of those folks have been kind of dismissed as having no involvement. It just seems kind of quick to be writing off folks who were so close to this event. You'd think you'd want to do a pretty substantial, thorough investigation of each one of those people and their networks to ensure that there's absolutely no connection before you go out to the public and say, yeah, we've cleared all these people. But, again, I don't know what's going on behind the scenes.
Andrew McCabe, thank you very much.
I just thought that portion and the resources part of that was kind of interesting. Oh yeah, let me do this clip here too, and then we'll talk about. I think this one here specifically. This is News Nation Banfield. They talk about like the Wi-Fi stuff and I think geofencing.
So Chris, walk me through that. First of all, there's a mobile unit that we've all been seeing outside the home. And part of me wants to believe that there's DNA testing going on in that unit because this is such an exigent circumstance. But the other part of me knows that that is sent to labs far away. You can't rush it. You can certainly prioritize it, but you just have to be patient to get, DNA test results back. While they're doing that, there is also the idea that you can look at blood spatter. You can look at trajectory of knife wounds, etc. And you can actually determine things like if the killer's left-handed or right-handed, or even how tall he or she, but likely he, might be.
I thought that was really interesting, just those things she's talking about. There's certain things you could probably tell. And honestly, I know it probably sounds bad, but when I heard her mentioning this, I thought about Dexter, the show. And a guy, I think it's Michael C. Hall that plays it. Because, I think he worked as a blood splatter analyst or forensics or whatever. And so a lot of the times he would be talking about the splatter and direction and all this kind of stuff. And I also, thinking of Dexter, my mind just veers in all these different places. There was apparently a recent Dexter copycat killer I had heard. I didn't really read about it. I just saw a headline. Dexter copycat killer. It looks like it's happened a couple of times. Maybe it's not that recent. Yeah, 4 days ago, I think. Has Aftab Punlawala inspired other killers? I don't know what's going on. I don't know. Maybe it's happened a couple of times. I had seen somewhere. When I look it up right now, there's quite a few that pop up, so I don't know.
Correct?
That's absolutely correct. And yes, mobile units have been mobilized across the country with a lot of law enforcement agencies, and they're outfitted with state-of-the-art equipment to test all sort of potential evidence. But I wouldn't expect for those mobile units to be testing DNA evidence because it's so fragile and it's so and it requires a special hand, a very educated hand in order to handle it. So I wouldn't expect for it to have those mobile units out there testing and outfit and putting together DNA strands. So that's a little bit far-fetched, but they are outfitted with some of the state-of-the-art equipment. And yes, those crime scenes will tell a story of, and through the autopsy, you should be able to tell whether or not this person may have been right or left-handed. Through the blood spatter, you should be able to tell maybe how tall he was or the actual position that the victims were in when this murder occurs. There's so much information that you can find from the crime scene.
So, Joe, when they do get DNA, and listen, with a crime scene that aggressive, it's hard to believe that they're not going to find some kind of DNA. Just sorting through all the people who've been through that house, friends, roommates, past residents, past tenants, etc. That's the tricky part. But if when they do, the genealogy services that exist today are something that we never had 10, 15 years ago.
And this is a conversation that we had the other day about the genealogy. And I remember specifically too, because somebody in the chat, they probably hadn't been watching the whole stream, but I was asking, we did a poll. I was curious if people had done that type of DNA testing, because we had a conversation with my family and I've talked to friends about it, and like if they've done that and would they, and they can match people like that. And I remember somebody came into the chat saying that's a dumb question. Well, it really wasn't. It's an interesting one because some people feel kind of paranoid to do it because they feel like, I don't know, you might find out things good or bad about your family or even health wise, but it could also tie in criminals, you know what I'm saying? Like, and people have gotten caught like that. I'm trying to think of who it was. Thinking of a cigarette. They took this, was it that person? They took this guy's, or a cup. They took the DNA off a cup or a cigarette. I have to look it up.
23andMe, the Ancestry.com. Do police instantly go to those companies and say, help us?
That's kind of veiled many times. You don't know if they're going there or not. We've had several recent cases where genealogical forensics have been utilized, and they don't necessarily show their hand. And there's good reasons behind that. They kind of disguise this sort of thing, but it is a tool that they have relative to open source databases. I think one of the key things here for me, though, is if they find a bit of DNA.
Was it the Golden State Killer? I mean, there's a lot of cases like that, but I think the one I was thinking of specifically, thanks to DNA on a cigarette butt. Was that it?
Associated with the perpetrator. And you're right, this is an evidence-rich environment. You're going to have a copious amount of biological evidence. If they find that, the first stop along this way is they're going to plug this profile into the CODIS system, which is all the sex offenders that are out there. And they're going to search that from stem to stern to see if they get any hits there. And that'll be the first place that they're going to go to. Anybody that's voluntarily or has, by order of court, has presented their DNA and it's in a database, they're going to go there first, and then they'll move out from there.
All right, Chris, the other thing I want you to help me figure out, because as long as I've been a crime...
No, it's not that one that I'm thinking of. I don't know who it is. Yeah, this guy looks miserable, man. This Golden State guy. Is this an updated picture of this guy? Holy crap. Oof. Wow.
Crime reporter, I still struggle with this one. The police say they think it's a targeted attack. It's been, a source for much consternation in the public. Well, if it's a targeted attack, do we not have to worry? Yes, they say you still do have to worry. What evidence in a crime scene like this might be consistent with leading investigators to think it's a targeted attack?
Well, it's victim placement. There's so many factors that go into why police would believe that this is a targeted attack that I really can't get into. It. We'll be here all day. But, one thing
I've
read.
Give me your top three. Top 3 to 5.
I feel pushing it. Let's go.
Okay, so victim placement. How many injuries that occurred? The fact that the weapon, the injuries to all of the victims seems to be the same weapon. It's just there's a lot. But one thing that I got to say that I've got to mention about DNA, because we actually just talked about this on my podcast, DNA has become a very relevant piece of evidence for investigators, but we cannot rely on it completely. Just finding someone's DNA inside of that house does not mean that they are the killer. So, and it's very, very fragile. So we have to be careful in how we talk about and how we utilize that DNA, because it could lead to some of the wrongful convictions that we've seen today, or some people that are implicated in a murder that they had nothing to do with.
Thank you for watching.
Yeah, that's true. That whole DNA thing, there's a lot to it. I just saw somebody's comment. They say the Golden State Killer, I lost it now, was caught with DNA familial. But there's a lot of people that get caught like that. Let's see, another former. I guess let me get the super chats too real quick. Let's see here. Rosanna, thank you so much for the super chat. Appreciate that. Karen, thank you for the like on Facebook. Plumbing Explained, thank you for the super chat. Says, look into Anita Cudson murder in 2007. Recently arrested her roommate female of the time just this October. Same exact type stabbing, bunch of stab wounds to the chest, went cold for 14 years. I'm going to keep that name saved on my Anita Hudson. Oh, Knutson? Maybe it's Knutson. Knutson. Okay. Cold case solved, I guess. Wow. Okay. Maybe at the end of the stream, I'll pull it up real quick. Paul K, thank you for the super chat. Says, finally live. Hello, down from down under. Have you shown the 3D model? Yeah, we're gonna get to that. We got some time. Thank you for that. Laura P, thank you for the 4-month membership. Thank you, Mel and Mods, for your kind and fair coverage of this horrific case. Thank you so much, Laura. Sister Sherry, 4 months membership, still here. The chat is ridiculous today. They say that every day. Chives, what's up, man? Hope you're doing well. Thank you for the 13-month membership. What's up, Mel? So glad able to catch one of your lives. Been a while. I've been super busy. Keep it up. Kasi, 22-month membership. Amazing. It's good. It's a good rule. It's good to rule people out fast. The way people go after potential suspects can ruin lives. Support Mel. Hit the like button. Thank you. And Name, thank you for the super chat earlier. Been with you since Gabby Petito. So proud of you. Best news. Thank you. Thank you, man. Okay.
Today really is that there isn't one. 2 weeks in and there is no information on who committed this crime. Are there any details that you're honing in on as you follow this case?
It's pretty wild to think about that too, that in 2022 that you can still kill 4 people in a house where 2 other people are alive in a town, I guess it's a small town, and just slip out. With all the technology and everything that we have these days.
Well, I do think there's important things that the public should be informed of so they can kind of get an idea of what they should be looking for. And first of all, let me just say this. I've been very critical of this police department, the way they first handled these things. But I have to tell you, I don't blame them at all for not telling the families anything else, because ever since this occurred, the family members have been on podcasts, they've been on newscasts, and law enforcement is automatically going to pull back on the information that they provide if that occurs. So I don't blame them for that. But what I do think that they should be doing, and they're probably not going to because they don't want to, they think that they're going to inflame the situation of people being nervous if they do this. But people have to understand about what occurred on that night and the type of person that would do this. Now, I've heard some analysts saying things that are just soundbite related. One analyst on another network said that it was probably a female or a same-sex argument or something that inflamed it, as though he was wanting to make it an exclusive or all-inclusive type of thing. I don't think that's the case. I'm pretty sure that this was a young male, somebody who could get into the house and get out in that neighborhood without being seen. I don't think it was 2 people, because the more people you have going into that house, the more likely it is that they were going to be seen. So I think it's one male, young enough to have been in that neighborhood. I think the potential is that they entered from the second floor because the first floor was never disturbed. And there's also a wooded area behind that house. But here's an important thing that I think people should realize. This is probably not the first time that this person did this. As I explained before, this is an adrenaline-filled incident. When somebody goes in and they kill, especially with a knife, there's a tremendous amount of adrenaline that goes into this. And to do that 4 times in one event shows that this person has most likely not done this before. So people need to realize this individual is probably odd. He's probably shown some type of behavior that people think is strange or menacing when they're close to them. And I would advise people, if they know someone like this, or if they saw something between the hours of 3 o'clock and 7 o'clock when the sun came up on the 13th of November, that they should call law enforcement and just say, this is what I saw and this is where I saw it.
Would you go so far as to say that this individual is a serial killer?
Well, I think when you look at what they did, typically killers don't rise to this level on their first shot. So somebody's not going to come in and kill 4 people unless it is a family-oriented type of thing, which this was not. You do see with mass killers, and people also need to realize the difference between somebody who is a overt killer, such as the Walmart killer or the person in Colorado that shot up a nightclub. Those people expect to be seen. and it is a fit of rage or narcissism or psychopathic dominance. But with this individual, they may share that narcissistic or psychopathic dominance, but they don't want to get caught. And so I think what we see here is something that was an escalation where this person has probably done something violent before, potentially killing before, because remember, rapists don't start off killing and killers don't necessarily rape. So you need to realize that this was probably an escalation and people might have identified somebody before, again, within, I would say, at least a 3-hour travel distance to Moscow, Idaho, that this person probably lives.
Jonathan, a lot of the people who have spoken out about this case in terms of law enforcement are making statements that are leading people to believe that they do know more than what they're releasing to the public. Do you think that's true, or do you think that as of now they're still completely in the dark?
I think law enforcement knows what they know, and they could be telling us less because things have quickly gotten out to the media, or it could just be the fact that this was such a saturated crime scene, and there were so many people there before that night and that morning when people actually called other people that came there before police even got there. I find that to be the oddest, strangest thing I've just about ever heard. So I think this situation, or this crime scene, is going to take time to filter out, because you got to remember, there's DNA everywhere, there's things, blood that was everywhere, so things are going to be tainted, and it takes a long time. I'd rather see the police take their time and diligently work their way through this than to succumb to peer pressure and tell people they just can't get to it, there's nothing to be worried about, or make something up. I'd rather see this diligent investigative process.
Absolutely.
If you had a child at the University of Idaho, would that child be back at class today following Thanksgiving break?
I'd be very careful with that until they find out any more information, release any information. But I'll tell you one thing people can do. I think people should go and it's a $35 purchase at Amazon. It's a driveway detector. It comes with one little thing that looks out with, I think it's IR, and then it has a monitor that goes off. People use them on their driveways all the time. You could put that at your front door, at the door of your bedroom, and you can have that thing in your room and be prepared. Have a bright flashlight, have something that's...
I think I've seen those things that he's talking about, because like those apps, like the neighborhood apps and stuff like that, and some of the video footage, you see somebody coming to the front of the house to like steal a vehicle or like check the doors, and as soon as they walk up to the house, it makes like a sound like beep beep or and the people usually just start running or whatever. Usually it's accompanied by a camera or something like that as well.
It's a blunt object. If you have a concealed weapons carry permit, get ready for that. And most important for people on fraternity and sorority row, don't go out and get wasted. Don't get wasted to the point where you pass out and you don't know what's going on when you get home until I wouldn't advise that at all, but especially until they catch who did this.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things that we're learning about this area, great advice, by the way, there, is that this it's not New York City, where you have crimes or cameras on every corner. It's a rural college town. And obviously this area is one where there are a lot of college homes, so there may not have been the Ring doorbell cameras in the area. So when police are desperate for as much information as possible, and there are some investigators who are saying that, even if you have something that may not seem like a big deal, hand it in, because what might not be in that footage is just as important as what could be in the footage. So great advice, great analysis, Jonathan. Thank you so much for joining us.
You got it. Thank you. And I want to say one other thing. Yeah, sure. I was a part of the Times Square investigation where a bomber drove up on a bicycle and put a pipe bomb on the recruiting depot in Times Square in 2008. They've never been caught, and they drove all over New York City on a bicycle. So that tells you the reality of cameras. A yappy dog is better than a camera. Yeah, it's going to be a long investigation. Hopefully, with the right information and forensics, it can be cut down. But like we said, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it. You got it.
And that's to the point, too, at the beginning that he was talking about that, with family, not, police not really, or maybe kind of walking back as much as how open they've been and not divulging everything. Because, of course, at the end of the day, they still have to protect the investigation, which is protecting the family, even though, they can't just divulge everything. Be a problem. Let's see here. Plumbing explained. Thank you so much for the super chat. Substance, the Petito case. I've tried following other channels, but nobody handles these cases with the open-minded way you do. The kindness you show us, the viewers, even if you disagree, is admirable. Thank you so much for that beautiful message, man. Appreciate that. It's really nice. Zen Cat, thank you for the super chat. There's been a lot of criticism leveled at local LE, but the FBI are involved too. Are they in control of this investigation? Yeah, the FBI and I think the state police are involved, and so who's really in charge? I'm not sure. I would think maybe once, because they got a lot of FBI there too. I would think maybe that once they step in, they're kind of taking control, but I'm not sure. Really not sure, because the local PD's been doing the pressers. Devil Die Elvis, thank you so much for the super chat. Says 80% of you haven't hit the like button. Yes, if you could hit the like button, I'd appreciate it. Let's see, we still got a couple more. I gotta make sure I squeeze in the 3D model. This is the one with the Wi-Fi and digital evidence. Banfield News Nation.
Had the police or the FBI or any career. All right, Chris, listen. That question that the reporter asked about the Wi-Fi and the hotspot, had the police or the FBI or any authorities looked into all the activity on the Wi-Fi or maybe hotspots in that house?
I try to say Moscow's in charge. Moscow's in charge.
Because that might actually link to a phone that's curious. Do you think that the authorities in that small community, I get it, they've had one murder in 7 years, or not had a murder in 7 years, and also the FBI field offices out there, do you think that they have this kind of technical savvy to be right on that and be looking at it from day one?
Local department, probably not. State police, maybe. The FBI, as a whole, as an agency, yes, they certainly have that capability at their, at the headquarters level and out at the field and certain field offices. And it's really a question of imagination too. The technical capabilities are there, but you have to be able to think of these sort of things. As you and I were talking about offline here, there's so many different types of digital evidence and communication modes and that sort of thing that, in this era, we talked about Apple Watches, we talked about other types of Alexa, things that you have, apps that you have on in your laptop or your mobile device that upload into the cloud and store things, geolocations and that sort of thing. So I haven't heard much about digital evidence in this case, and that makes you wonder how much they are, or how aggressively they are pursuing that angle.
It fascinates me, Chris. If I have an Apple Watch, and it will alert 911 if I fall down.
Damn.
It will tell everyone.
I didn't know those things did that. I just recently got the iPhone and this is my Windows one. The iMac is on the bed somewhere, but the iMac, the iPhone, all that stuff, even other devices, they all like track each other, GPS and stuff like that. And even the AirPods have some sort of GPS, even the case. The AirPods and then the case itself too is like tracking GPS or something like that.
When my heart stops, which could be phenomenal information when 4 victims die in one episode. It could tell you exactly when each, person died, or at least anyone who might have been wearing one of these watches if they were. And then the Alexa. How many times has it happened to you if you have one in your house where you're having a normal conversation and all of a sudden Alexa kicks on and you haven't even said her name? That records whatever.
And there's been those reports too of Alexa just recording people without even any commands or anything, just recording conversations, tapping in and stuff. I don't know if they've stopped that, but I thought there was a couple of things that had happened with that. These devices are listening all the time.
Whatever you say records, and it goes to the cloud, and it can be accessed by authorities. Do enough authorities know this stuff to be looking for those devices and then digging deep into the devices for the critical data?
Not enough, no. I mean, that digital evidence thing, that type of evidence is often overlooked, or you just don't have the capabilities or the imagination to even think of that type of evidence. So, It's a very specialized area. There aren't enough technicians and analysts and techs with the with the police departments especially. And as you go up, each state agency, each state has an investigative agency. There, it's the state police. Other places, it's a Bureau of Investigation, local Bureau of Investigation. The FBI, without a doubt, has that capability. NSA, the CIA.
Yeah.
But I go
all this shit. People listening all the time. Why don't they ever put that towards a crime?
back to this notion of imagination, of investigative, acumen, if you will, to know that type of evidence is out there. We hear a lot of talk about traditional evidence there.
We hear a lot about traditional. We don't hear so much about the newfangled stuff that maybe people didn't know about or didn't exist 10 years ago. So I got to ask you, I got 30 seconds left, but they keep saying that they have evidence that it's a targeted attack. What kind of evidence could possibly exist in a crime scene like that might actually make an investigator think it's a targeted attack? Just give me like the top 5. What kinds of things would it be?
I think a lot of times you'll see one victim with more wounds than another, more savage type of wounds, more disfigurement and that sort of thing. And I hate to get that clinical. These are people, these are students, they're precious lives. But from a clinical sense, I think that's where this is coming from, is that it's a very messy crime scene. A knife is a tough way to kill somebody. It's a brutal way to kill somebody. Somebody came into the house and maybe went directly to certain rooms. If there were footprints and bloody footprints or even muddy, snowy footprints in there, you could trace the path of the killer and see that they made a beeline for one room or another and didn't just meander around. So those are the top 2 that I would throw in.
Fascinating. And of course, there is the digital footprint. What about emails and texts? What about financial transactions? We're going to dig into that.
Yes, and that's the next thing that I wanted to play the Banfield clip about the Venmo stuff. There's also a Reddit post about it. I'm trying to see because I want to make sure we cover this virtual thing. I didn't realize I didn't think I had enough, but I always have like extra. Public Venmo information supposedly shows the couple ordered pizza the night before. Second photo is a review posted a few months ago regarding a delivery driver. This has been reported to the tip line. This information was found on Twitter and doesn't seem to be well known. What's this? Ethan paid Xana, Domino's, 11. Okay, let's see anything to that. Public Venmo. I thought this was the other post, but we'll see it anyway with the video. I'll never order here again. The delivery driver was supposed to do a contactless delivery, but looked outside of my door for 10 minutes or so. It made me uncomfortable. I'm a delivery driver, so people don't want to be creeped on by the driver and stared down. Contactless doesn't require a signature. I'll never order. Oh, really? Jesus, that's it? I don't know. Disregard that.
Interviews, bags of physical evidence. Police still need the public's help to find the killer. Post. And they're getting it, especially on social media, where crime-solving groups are popping up nightly, analyzing clues and highlighting theories. My next 2 guests see them all. Christine Cameron and Alina Smith oversee the...
I understand that can be kind of frustrating. Oh, I guess there's Reddit posts on Venmo too. There's people looking into all the Venmo transactions. I don't know. Because I remember ordering pizza too a while back in the COVID days. I know some people it's still, but back when it was like crazier, you tell them to do contactless and they just hang around outside the door. Maybe they didn't see the selection or something, but sometimes back then when I was afraid of it, it was kind of annoying. Now I'm just like, whatever. But all All right, let's see.
University of Idaho murders case discussion group on Facebook, and about 13,500 people have joined and counting, and they are here with me live. Christine, let me begin with you. You've been passionate about, solving crime since John Bonet and Madeleine McCann. So let me ask you about your group members zeroing in on Venmo and the public activity that they've been able to see between these victims and what they've been spending their money on. Can you explain what they've seen?
Yes. Hi, Ashley. Thanks for having us. You see a lot of normal transactions between friends and roommates, paying each other for pizza and coffee.
That's the pizza conversation, I guess. Okay.
We see that on November 12th at 1:59, Ethan sent Kaylee money. The caption said, "Thank you." Then at 2:10 p.m., he sent her money again with a note that says, "Yeah, yeah, yeah." But when group members looked at Ethan's Venmo, a new Jack came about. Ethan paid someone named Jack Hadovich at 11:40 p.m., and that is his last Venmo transaction. Not to say there's, anything wrong or suspicious.
So that Jack K guy, he's the one that started the GoFundMe on behalf of. I had it here somewhere. I want to make sure I say it correctly. I think it was Ethan.
But that's just a new character that comes for people to talk about on social media. But someone went a step further in our group and did some digging. They posted that someone paid Jack's sister that day. And
so the whole thing, too, I've seen people talking about this a lot, that he had donated. He was the first donator. Let me see if I could pull up the notes real quick. Oh, I had it. Character list. Oh, here we go. Fraternity brother of Ethan, Jack K. He created the GoFundMe on behalf of Sigma Chi to benefit Ethan's family. Okay, there it is. So,
further,
it was Ethan's last transaction. Let's see.
To say there's anything wrong or suspicious. That is, Ethan paid someone named Jack Hadovich at 11:40 p.m. and that is his last Venmo transaction. Not to say there's anything wrong or suspicious, but that's just a new character that comes for people to talk about on social media. But someone went a step further in our group and did some digging. They posted that someone paid Jack's sister that day and captioned it 3:30 a.m. That time they felt was really unsettling.
So somebody paid Jack's sister that day with a caption 3:30 a.m.
And did some digging. They posted that someone paid Jack's sister that day and captioned it 3:30 a.m. That time they felt was really unsettling. And Jack K was also the first person to donate to a memorial fund for Ethan in the amount of $6.
So I saw that a lot too. See, I haven't given this stuff too much thought, but it is conversation. Everybody's talking about it on the internet, I mean, it is a weird amount, $6. People were talking about that. And I'm surprised the news, they're just putting all the names out there. Fuck it. They just said whatever. I usually try to I would have at least tried to but I guess the news is like, fuck it. Everybody's out with it now. So this is the caption. So that was November 12th. Let's see here. November 12th. Oh, so that's Saturday. Oh, that is weird, though. That is kind of weird. That is, I can't lie. That is kind of. So they were killed, we believe, in the early morning hours of Sunday. And then Saturday, November 12th, there was this 3:30 a.m. Venmo payment. And so I guess this is the thing here. Did some digging on Venmo, and Ethan's last Venmo payment was to Jack. Clicked on his page and found Molly, who paid Liz, Jack's sister, and captioned it 3:30 a.m. This is very unsettling. Could be nothing, could be something. Thought it was interesting regardless. This is how the a lot of this stuff happens, like on Reddit and Facebook. People are digging and putting things out and looking into things.
And people are really reading into that a lot. Why $6? Now Jack is really just a topic of conversation and people want to hear more about it.
The $6 is a weird number. I mean, I don't know why 6. Is that all he had in his account? Usually I would think like a flat number, like $5, $10, 15, 20, 50, 100. You know, I don't know. But I'm not into all that number stuff, but it is weird.
And a 3:30 a.m. Venmo captioned 3:30 a.m. Jack's sister. Fascinating. Alina, can you weigh in on why a lot of people in the discussion group have been focusing in on the potential target as actually being Xana and Ethan, not necessarily where all the focus is on Kaylee and Maddie?
Hi, Ashley. Mostly because there's an eerily similar murder that happened in Oregon about August, and it also happened on the 13th.
Which the police, they've now come out after and said that they don't believe it's connected, even though there's similarities.
And it was a man and wife couple that was attacked. The murder weapon was a knife. It happened between 2 and 3 in the morning. And they believe that...
I see the chat. Jen says 6. I got your back. Ben said 6 people in the house.
Kaylee and
Hope said it isn't code word.
At Madison were just collateral damage, and everybody has it backwards. There's a theory that migrated from a Reddit group that someone may have just followed Xana and Ethan home from the Sigma Chi party, and they were the ones that were intended for the murders.
Christine, I have a couple seconds left, but tell me about the general consensus when it comes to the surviving roommates, Dylan Mortensen and Bethany Funk.
So, there's 2 camps. Some say that they believe they believe the police when they say that they've been cleared. Others say, this delayed 911 call, the locked doors, calling friends over before they called the police, just seems way too suspicious.
What you have been doing is absolutely fascinating, ladies, and I would love to have you back next week as well, because clearly this story is not going away. And for our viewers out there, we have a link on our News Nation Facebook page to Christine and Alina.
Okay. Next one. Let's see how much we got that. Pizza stuff. So I guess people are trying to look into maybe like if a pizza person had anything to do with it. I guess that's what's going on Reddit. Public Venmo information supposedly shows the couple ordered pizza the night before. Second photos review. So, all right. Next, let's see. We did this, right? We covered that already. All right, let's do the virtual thing before we run out of time. I'm just gonna briefly, really quickly, just mention this again. I already covered this in a smaller, shorter video, but it says here the coroner. Well, let me start here. Of the 4 University of Idaho students who were found stabbed to death in a rental house last Sunday, some were killed in their beds. The Latah County coroner told CBS News Friday. Coroner Kathy would not provide any further details. She noted, however, that earlier media reports stating all 4 victims had been murdered in their beds were not accurate. So that was kind of like a big deal, I guess. So this is where it's like maybe somebody got up and started fighting, or maybe they weren't. One of them wasn't found in their bed, or they were attacked in their beds, but somebody got out. I don't know. So, okay, the 3D model, hopefully I can do this. I practiced a little bit. So CFA created this 3D interactive model of the dorm house, which is kind of cool because you can actually go do it yourself and kind of like, go through the house, kind of take a little tour. He put the link there. I put his Twitter link on the description of this video, and I also put the link directly to the 3D model thing in the description. Let me pull up this other. Let's see here. If I can do this. Okay, the best way I found to go about this is level by level. So, first floor. kind of, this is like the front of the house, but over here, those would be the vehicles right there. We'll get to the side of the house later. But when you walk in, there would be a bedroom, I believe, to the right. This here would be like the laundry room right there. And then this would be the other bedroom right here. And this would, I think, a bathroom. We had a little link pulled up here. Second floor, top floor. The first floor I don't have really here, but I do have this is the second floor. So let me take us back. So the first level is pretty like self-explanatory. And there's this staircase that goes up here. And then you got the second. Let's see how this looks. You got the back of the house right here. I mean, you could really look. I don't want to mess up what I'm trying to do, but you can put all the levels right there. So this would be like the sliding glass door, the balcony. And so let me just show you the second. I guess I'll come in through here. Let's try this. And I put the link in too, so if you guys want to try yourself later. This is where I'm thinking would probably have been the point of entry, though some people have thought maybe it could have been to the third floor as well. And so here, when you first come in through the sliding door, you have the kitchen. And I believe they said this is the foyer. Let's see. Coming through the kitchen. And I mean, and this is why a lot of people are saying, like, I mean, I don't know, this person had to know what they were doing, because you come in through the kitchen. If they came in through the sliding door area, they passed the kitchen, they passed the foyer. And this room here, I believe, would have been empty because this is Xana's room right here. So we'd assume that Xana and Ethan maybe were sleeping in the same bed. They'd have to come here, past the living room area, past the staircase, you know, pass into it to get into this bedroom. So let me retrace that. Oops. No, stop. Okay. So yeah, they'd have to come past here. This should be this would be, I guess, vacant. You come into here, you'd literally pass like this staircase over here. You know what I'm saying? And then you come here, right into the bedroom, and this would be Xana's room, assuming that she was in there with Ethan. You know, and then it would be to the third floor, which the third floor is the only part that I've had trouble accessing. See, it just takes me kind of to the roof. The third floor is the only one I couldn't really. I tried coming through the side. Yeah, I couldn't really. And it's really supposed to be right here. Yeah, I can't do the third floor. That's the only problem I had. If Sifa knows how to do it, maybe he can hit me up sometime. Or we could just do a little pre-recorded video if he wants to just take us through the house sometime. I can post the video. But I thought this was really cool that you could kind of see a bit of the layout. It took me a little bit of practice before I even started streaming, but I can do the first floor and the second floor. But it gives you kind of a presentation mode. What's that? Oh, shit. Is that presentation mode? I don't even know how to get into presentation mode. You could DM me though too on Discord. You know, the super chat. That was the only part that I had a problem with. But you can easily like go here, and I recommend if you're gonna use this, probably try Google Chrome. When I was trying Brave, it wouldn't let me like turn easily. If you use Google Chrome and you make sure you have hardware acceleration turned on in the settings. But this kind of gives you an idea, like if this guy really would have came through the front door, which I don't think so, he would have to just ignore all these doors, you know, unless it was very purposefully avoided these people. I mean, I guess that's why it has to be targeted, because either way, whether you go in through the first or the second. Oh, you know what? We got to watch the other video too. We have some time to do that. But this was really, I just thought this was really dope. So definitely, you know, check out his Twitter or the link in the description that takes you directly to the website. Let's see what DM me. So, but this person, they came in through the sliding thing. They'd have to pass quite a few bit of doors, you know, like, and even, I mean, I don't know if he opened this and checked it. That's something police would know. But if you could tell, like, they skipped this or they didn't even look in there and they went straight past all this shit, straight to the room. And did this person even bother going downstairs? I mean, they didn't, you know, I don't know. They would just go straight here and up. So, only part I can't access is up there. So, if I do figure it out, I'll do, I don't know, maybe I'll do a shorter video, post it, Facebook or something. Okay. The neighbor, let's see. Oh, here it is.
Who lives near the victim's house.
The young lives of those 4 Idaho college
I didn't realize
students
he
who were
did one.
murdered more than a week ago, and gives our...
I didn't realize he did another one because I did one video on the one where he's standing outside, and he did
First
another
look
one here.
inside that house. That's the house it happened in.
Officials are set to update the public on the investigation later today, but the gruesome killings
This is an old video. They're not doing an update.
have people living there on edge.
Not right
And
now.
joining us now, Jeremy Reagan, a third-year law student at the University of Idaho College of Law, who lives near the victim's house. Good morning to you, Jeremy.
Good morning.
Explain what you're seeing when you're driving through the neighborhood, what's going on, and what do you know about the people who lived there?
So I didn't personally know any of the people that lived at that house. I had seen them going in and out of their house a couple of times as I would take my dog out to go to the bathroom. And ever since this incident happened, you know, I used to see people out in the field across from the apartment complex just playing with their dogs. But then after this happened, it seems kind of like a ghost town. The only people I really see are police and media. So it's just really strange that everyone in that neighborhood is sort of...
Someone in the chat, Twinkie says he's done 4 interviews. Really? Oh, wow. Because I seen the original one that we did, or that I covered, I mean, where he was standing outside. And then I came across this one. I haven't seen any of the other ones. And I didn't do a video on this. I figured I'd save it for a live because he kind of just says the same things that he said when he was outside.
Left for Thanksgiving early or just left for the rest of the semester or whatever their plans were. It's just odd to see that it's only police and media in there around there at this point.
Right. Jeremy, the police are obviously there. Have police or investigators gone around the neighborhood and knocked on the doors and said, hey, did you see anything? What do you remember? Do you have any video? Stuff like that?
Yeah, so around noon on the Sunday that it happened, we all got the vandal alert to sort of stay sheltered in place. And then about an hour or two after that, an officer came by and went door to door along the front row of apartments, at least where I live, and just asked if we had any footage or if we had seen anything the night before, or if we had heard anything. And that's the only contact I've had so far, was just that one time that the officer came by.
How would you characterize what's around you? It looks like a very wooded area. Are there a lot of deep woods around you where you could see people going in and out without being seen?
For the most part. So what you can see is behind the house, there's that little wooded hill there. For the most part, it's houses and apartments, other than that little area right there.
Yeah.
Jeremy,
but yeah, just Moscow generally. Oops, sorry.
How scared are you and your neighbors? I mean, this person who did this is still in the loose.
I definitely don't feel comfortable. I'm not necessarily as scared because the cops said that it seems like a targeted, isolated incident, and I sort of believe that based on the fact that 2 of the people in the house were unharmed. But yeah, obviously anyone that can just go out and kill 4 people is a danger to the community. And I sort of mentioned in the last interview I did that I hope that he's caught, preferably before I get back from Thanksgiving break.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely just an uneasy feeling being around there.
We're all looking for more information to figure out who did this. Jeremy Reagan, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thanks, Jeremy.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. That was Jeremy. Let's see. The other thing. So there's a couple. Somebody had emailed me. I didn't realize it. They sent me this on Friday about allegedly Xana's mother. I guess they emailed a couple of people. I'll take a look at it. I want to verify it myself, but I'll take a look and see. After the stream, maybe tonight, I'll try to take a look and see if it's the other thing. Oh, so the whole church thing too, Christ Church. I haven't really had time to look into it. I read a couple of articles. Some people had sent me some articles. I barely read the articles. I might have to look into it sometime. And I'm not saying there's any kind of connection with the church, but it's just kind of interesting, weird, how like this church, or maybe it's normal, I don't know. They're buying out like all these businesses and stuff. There's this Facebook page that keeps track, I guess. And like they're buying out the town, it seems like. Newest additions. They have some businesses here listed here. Christchurch affiliated retail business reference. Even one of the media Facebook pages. Here goes media, Canon Press, NSA Bookstore, Roman Roads, Cross Political, Moscow Report. That's on Facebook. They all have like ties to like this church thing over there and these businesses right here. And I had gotten this email with this guy. We were talking we had like 2 email exchanges, but he's really sick right now. So he was saying he'll try to get back in contact. But one of his original emails, if I can find it, I lost it. Oh, so many emails here. Let me try doing a search. He was just talking about the town. How, let me see if I can type it in. If I remember his name. No. Crazy because I just had his email up and it just lost in this. Oh, here we go. Lost in the sea of emails. I'm not going to say his name or anything like that. When I talk to him after, if he wants to, do like a pre-recorded thing. But he said, we have some weirdos in town, but this stuff never happens. Some local oddball that I've seen walking around town, but they seem harmless. There are a lot of rumors floating around that keep popping up with Christchurch. I am not sure it's related to that. Okay, let me see what else I can. The town is a lot more quiet. Regarding the students, they're off all week for Thanksgiving, but the town is a lot more quiet right now. I'd love to call and chat sometime. And there was somebody else too that messaged me that said they were local, but we didn't really talk much. So I'm kind of curious to see if any locals will, have some conversations. The last thing I want to squeeze in. Maybe I'll do this lady because I'll do this one. News Nation clip.
Tell us why. That this was not random. Tell us why. Yes, thank you, Nicole.
Now I get the super chats too after.
And certainly this is a horrific, horrendous case. I'll just briefly remind our viewers, and you already know, two categories when we see a crime of this magnitude, a mass murder. In my initial review and analysis, I always look toward, is it predatory, is it reactionary? I rule out the reactionary. Here's why. For very logical, basic reason. If we
Jennifer Stoddard. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing that. I'm horrible with reading and everything, but Jennifer Stoddard in the chat says both my sons live in Moscow, Idaho, and it is well known that Christ Church is a cult. That's what I've been hearing. And there's actual articles about it where you can read that about the church.
We have a murder and we classify it in more of a reactive type of way, that would be a circumstance more likely as a domestic violence where we have individuals perhaps in a family structure, they've had a verbal altercation, it then leads to a potential physical altercation, someone goes into the kitchen, grabs a knife, and then hence we have a murder. It would also, in that regard, most likely be classified as a second-degree murder and or manslaughter. This case, this horrific crime of our four young victims here, this is absolutely, in my mind, predatory, and here's why. I have no doubt that this killer, and I'll say a singular killer, I don't believe there is more than one murderer involved in this case, but this person, without a doubt, has planned this. It was premeditated, it was willful, it was with malice. And so when we look at a knife of this caliber as well, this is something that individuals, Nicole, have tactical training on. This could be, and here's who I think we need to look at now. I believe that our local, state, and law enforcement officers are doing just an extraordinary job. We have at least 150 investigators assigned to this case. So first, what happens in a crime of this magnitude is there are circles involved among these victims. What does that mean? That means with whom is in the victim's inner circle. So law enforcement has really done their due diligence in processing an inner circle. And that would mean the ex-boyfriend. That would mean those who would have been directly involved with these victims within hours of this atrocity. So who's been ruled out? Those are very important functions and features, ruling out individuals, the driver, the roommates, the individuals at the food truck. So that's within that inner framework and inner circle. Now, what has to happen, and we know with certainty is happening, is who is now in that next level and layer of circle. So I would maintain that this would likely be somebody with whom our victim and or victims, potentially singular plural, would have as an associate. So when I use the terminology associate, that doesn't refer to a close friend or even an acquaintance. An associate is somebody that one of these victims and or all four know or know of. And so here we are in now what? Now who do we put a spotlight on? How do we continue investigating? So I can share my thoughts if you would like me to do so.
Well, Doctor, let me just jump in here really quickly, because you've kind of given us a bit of a profile here, but we saw some of the photos. We saw that there was blood, coming out of the house. Yeah. We don't know what the scene looked like inside, but being that we do know how all four victims were killed, likely a messy situation. You would think that it could, essentially lead investigators right to.
The only thing with the church thing, is like, and I've been, like I said, I haven't fully looked into it, but I have been hearing people tell me some weirdo stuff with it. And somebody had sent me in, there's quite a few articles, but it's like a lot. I feel like I need to really read through it. But then you also have extremists too that could be a part of that, so you never know if somebody's on the extreme level or mentally ill that's in there, in that area.
To the doorstep of their killer. That has yet to happen. So investigators right to the doorstep of their killer. That has yet to happen. So based on everything that we know so far, do you believe the public is in danger of this suspect, this person potentially killing again?
Right. So the level of danger, Nicole, is present until we have the actual killer in handcuffs, in police custody, and going through the criminal justice system. However, I think this individual targeted our victims and is most likely in that circle of a fellow student. I think it's an Anglo male when we go with profiling here statistically and through our data and research. And this is somebody who could also be a fellow student.
Thank you for watching. Go to News.
They just cut her off too. Well, they got time constraints. And that's it because I got to head out too. Thank you guys so much for joining me this live stream. Make sure you check out Swag It at the end of towards the end of December. We're going to do a giveaway. All you have to do is click the link, download, get swag bucks, and enter to win $500. I'll be following this case to see what updates come out. Couple of things. Don't forget, November 30th is supposed to be that hearing with Jared Lasik. I don't think you can stream it though. I think they have like a thing you're not supposed to record. There is a link, so maybe I'll be watching on Discord with people. And then I'll take notes and comment on it after. But that's coming up. Also, Michael Vaughn, there's supposed to be a press conference. I don't know if it's the 29th or the 30th. I don't know if they've ever set a specific date. So that's in the air as well. And yeah, and then we'll see. So, but yeah, make sure you check out the sponsor, the channel sponsor. Just click the link. Thank you guys so much. Hey Icky, what's your opinion on the people speculating on the neighbor Jeremy? I don't see any connection there. I mean, there's nothing. I know some people were speculating. People were speculating on everybody. You know, everybody's like being looked into from social media, and they're saying everybody's a suspect. So I don't know. I don't have any inclination that he did anything, just in my opinion. And I really don't know who did what. Honestly, I have no idea. So, but yeah, thank you guys so much. Take care. We'll see what happens. Maybe I'll be back later. We need a chase. We're so overdue for a chase. I don't know what's going on. No chase. But yeah, and I hope you guys stay safe. You know, there's a lot of crazy-ish going on out there. We got the Walmart shooter. We had this freaking the Q Club shooter. Did you guys see that guy's father? I'm gonna have to say that for another time. That guy was nuts. The shooter's father. Oh, bro, nuts. Oh, super chat, Alexa. Thank you so much. Let me get that before I get out of here. Almost got canceled. Yeah, let me get the super chats real quick. Okay. Gordon Jackson. Any idea roughly how long it takes a profiler to come up with a profile? No idea, bro. No idea. Or even a rough physical description, perp size based on blood analysis? No idea. That's a good question. Maybe I'll see if I can I copy that and save it? And maybe next time, see if I could look into that. Yeah, I have no idea what that process is. Miss Dog Lover, thank you so much for the super chat. It would be sensible not to accuse family members or exes. Look at the Delphi. You know, RA came out of nowhere. And some channels cause the families a lot of extra pain. You sub here, love the channel. Yeah, I never followed that case. But I did do a live recently when they did the press conference, and I learned about it. And so, and I was supposed to do a video because there's a long accused suspect list. There's a bunch of people that were accused of that crime, and it turned out to be none of them. Alexia, thanks so much for the super chat. Says, I think MPD needs to let ISPD be the lead on the case. I think they want to stay in charge because it looks bad on you if they can't handle it. That's true. Yeah. I mean, it's been years since they had a murder. It seems like they were kind of in over their heads a bit. You know, I mean, at least now they have the FBI and the state police, but Magic Pagan Willow, thank you for the super chat. Tabby sent you a message on Discord about an arrest. Tabby. Okay, I got a couple of, okay, here we go. Okay, thanks. Yeah, I'll look into that whole arrest thing. Thank you for the super chat. Sifa, I got yours. Thank you, man. And thank you for that 3D model. I put beds only where victims were to make it easy. That makes sense. Thank you. And he says try presentation mode. MH says Jack D comes from Coeur d'Alene. More odd. We talked about that place too. Coeur d'Alene. I think it's Coeur d'Alene. Sifa, I got that too. I'm gonna be honest, I don't know how to DM you on Discord, but I hit you up on Twitter. I DM'd you too. Crystal, thank you for the super chat. I checked your messages. Thank you for that. And that's it. We're caught up. Yeah, he was on the intervention. That guy. Yeah. That guy, bro. If you didn't see that, maybe we should end off on that. It was crazy. Like, it's like a horrible situation, right? But like when I saw that guy, he's so out of like. Seems like he's on something or was on something, so tone deaf and like high, and he like let me see if I can find that clip, bro. I couldn't believe when I saw that shit. This guy was like, I mean, I just bro.
You know, there are multiple people, right? And then I found there was a shooting involving, there are multiple people, right? And then I found later on to find it's a gay bar.
He was on intervention because he was, I think meth or something, and he was taking care of himself. He was touching himself for like 12, 18 hours while he was on substances. Yeah, right. Coeur d'Alene.
And I was like, oh my God, is he gay? I was scared. Oh my God, shit, is he gay? And he's not gay, so it's
well, you guys had
bro.
It's a gay bar.
Yeah, right.
And then I found later on to find it's a gay bar.
Yeah, right. And
I was like, oh my God, is he gay? I was scared. Oh my God, shit, is he gay? And he's not gay, so it's
so like, what the hell, bro? Like, these people are interviewing him about his son that's a shooter that killed people. I mean, this is not the full interview. They released this full interview? But you can tell like he's either on something or he's had issues with it in the past.
Well, you guys had conversations about that. You were.
Oh yeah,
you told him. Yeah, you were adamant that gay is bad.
I'm a Mormon. I'm a conservative Republican.
I'm a Mormon. I'm conservative Republican.
And we don't do gay. We don't do gay.
Yeah.
I can't get answers from the attorneys really, but they're saying that somebody's it's involving a gay bar or some shit. I don't know. I don't know what the heck he did at a gay bar. I don't know what's going on.
Well, he's accused of going on a mass shooting at a gay bar and killing 5 people.
Colorado.
Okay, well.
Bro, and the way he just goes, like they literally just tell him, yo, he's accused of a mass shooting. He's like, okay. Shit. Like, what? I'm like, what? Yo, I saw this and I was just like, what the hell?
Yeah, gay bar. I don't know what's going on.
Well, he's accused of going on a mass shooting at a gay bar and killing 5 people.
Colorado.
Okay, well, that's shit. If he's accused of doing that, I'm surprised he's not gay.
Whoa! I didn't even catch that part. He's like, he's okay. He's accused of that. Well, I'm glad he's not gay. It's like almost as if he condones it or something.
Well, that's shit. If he's accused of doing that, I'm surprised he's not gay. I can say that, but he's not gay. There's a shooting.
Bro, no, I couldn't believe. I could not believe this shit. I could not believe this shit when I heard this. I was, oh my God, bruh. I don't know, man. Anyway, I'm gonna get out of here. I love you guys. Maybe we'll be back later.